Happy Friday morning, everybody. As y'all coming in, put your locations in the comments. Locations in the comments so we can get started and get into what we need to get into here. Locations in the comments, everybody. Actually, here's what we'll do. Put your locations in the comments, everybody, and we'll get started in a minute. We are live on Rumble. Good morning, Rumble. Live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Let me check and see if we are active on X, as I have been told that we are. Let me verify. Yes, we are live on X. Good morning, X. We are live on, let me confirm. Live on LinkedIn. Good morning, LinkedIn. My name on LinkedIn and X and Rumble and YouTube is the same. It is at Dre all day on each one of those platforms. I'm live on Facebook/Work on Your Game University. Live on Instagram at Dre Baldwin Kingworks 21. Good morning. Tuscaloosa, Alabama's in the building. And we are live on TikTok at Work on Your Game. So what we're talking about here today is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is running for Senate. Have y'all heard about this? Jasmine Crockett is running for Senate. And this is an interesting thing because the Senate it's a step up from Congress. Congress, there are about 400 some people in Congress, but Senate is only 100 people. So fewer people, just the fact that there's a scarcity of seats, a paucity of positions in the Senate makes it a more valuable place. So scarcity makes value go up. So she's trying to upgrade from the upgrade from the House of Representatives to the Senate within Congress. And this is an interesting thing. Because there's something interesting I found out about why she is actually running for Senate, above and beyond the fact that obviously she's politically ambitious and all that stuff and all the things she's done to draw attention. We'll get into that in a minute. But first, let me shout some people out. Give me your locations in the comments, and then we shall begin. So Kingworks 21, shouted you out already. Let's see what we got going on over on TikTok. And okay, so Kara Ann Collins, Newburgh, New York. Good morning. Annie AFF from Kentucky. Dwayne Mitchell, Detroit in the house. Murphy the Mutt, Bristol, Tennessee. Yay 45. Good morning from Florida. We're in Florida. Good morning. Linda Gale from St. Louis. I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you. Let's get through Friday first, but yes. Annie AFF said it's snowing there. Where is that snowing in? You said Kentucky? Okay, understood. Ray from Absecon, New Jersey. Good morning. Annie AFF and Ray and Lahek, thank you for the gifts early on. Courtney, good morning. Checking in from Nashville. Leslie from Lubbock, Texas. Lubbock, Texas. Shout out to Texas. Sarah L. checking in from Naples, Florida. Ashley Nicole from St. Augustine, Florida. Shout out to Florida. Shout out to Florida representatives here today. Lahek from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Good morning. Kristan from Delaware is in the house. Shout out to Joe Biden. Wait a minute, said Texas. How are you doing this morning? I'm doing pretty good. I just put one of my notes for 2026. I'm going to cut back on the processed foods. I think I'm eating too many processed foods. It leads to histamine reactions from me. So I'm going to chill on eating so much processed junk food, which I like eating, but I'm going to stop eating it. I'm probably going to stop before 2026. But I wrote it down as a note. Gene, good morning. Said it's really cold in New York. I would bet that it is. Shout out to everybody in cold places. And he said, no and oh, no shit. What does that mean? Ron Johnson from Lima, Ohio. Sammy Joe, thanks for the follow. Yay 45, checking in from Boca. Shout out to Boca Raton. Shout out to West Palm Beach. 11 Bravo said, what's up, man? Hope all is well from South Carolina. Shout out to South Carolina. Y'all got palm trees in South Carolina? All right, shout out to South Carolina. Leslie, Lubbock, Texas. Yay, Boca Raton. Hobie Ken, 2109, Grand Rising. Joey Bullington, good morning from Kathleen, Georgia. I haven't heard from that one before. Shout out to Kathleen. Sammy Joe checking in from snowy Iowa. Shout out to Middle America. Iowa I have heard of. I think Iowa is one state that I have not been to. I don't think I've been to Iowa. I've been to most states in the country. I don't think Iowa is a state I've been to. Millennial Meemaw said, Crockett for everything, checking in from Seattle. I don't know if you're joking or you're serious, but okay. We'll get into that. We're going to get into that in a minute. Now, one thing I will tell you all is that when it comes to the commentary, and I'll talk about this again when it comes to me getting to the comments, which I will do. I do it every day, is that unlike YouTube, TikTok does not have super chats. TikTok needs something like super chats because, and Sammy Joe said, you're not missing much. All right, fair enough. I'll take your word for it. One day I'll get to Iowa. TikTok doesn't have the super chats. The super chats make it easy for me to suss out which comments to look at and respond to. Whereas if I just go through every single comment, there are too many of them. So today when we get to the commentary, we're going to come up with a solution, a system for addressing these comments because I cannot read every single comment. It takes too much time. And we got to figure out if TikTok has any type of mechanism for this. It doesn't look like they do, but let me see. So I see gift gallery things in here. The thing is, it doesn't. See, the problem is it does not. Actually, it does give me some things. The problem is it doesn't connect top viewers or gifters, etc. It does show me who those people are, and I'm gonna actually start shouting y'all out. That's what I'm gonna do moving forward. I'm gonna shout out the top viewers. Right now, my top viewers are Annie AFF, Hobie Ken 2109, Leslie, Sammy Joe, Murphy the Mutt, Linda Gale, Ashley Nicole, Dwayne Mitchell, LaHeck, and Ron Johnson. That's my top 10. I will do that moving forward, and they say this is based on likes, comments, gift count, and watch time. Viewers who send more likes, comments, and gifts rank higher. Points are calculated by the following rules. So you get likes, you get points for likes, you get points for comments, you get points for coins. And the top 2 viewers' profile photos get showed to everyone at the top of the live. Top 3 had a chance to get a top viewer badge, and they show all this stuff. Can I choose to not be shown in the rankings? You can actually choose to not be shown if you don't want your face to be shown. So there's all these options that they have here. So we're going to figure out how to make these things work over here on so they have TikTok has super fans, YouTube has super chats, TikTok has super fans. The issue is they don't connect the super fans to the comments, so it's very difficult to suss through all the comments and figure out which ones make the most sense to read so that I can separate the top viewers from everybody else. That's the problem over here on TikTok. TikTok needs to solve this problem. YouTube has it solved very easily. They have super chats. Somebody does a super chat, they put $10, $20, $100, whatever into the chat. You can see it. It gets pinned. It's bright in a different color. And then you can see that, read that one. You just read those. When I see Candace on the show, she reads like 5 comments every episode. I'm going to give y'all more than 5 comments responded to because we got to make our soundboard work. But I can't read every single comment. So there has to be a healthy balance in between the two of those. We'll figure that out today when we get to the comments. But let's get to the topic first, which is Congresswoman. I was about to call her senator, but right now she's still a Congresswoman. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is running for the Senate in the state of Texas. Now, this is a surprise to some people that she entered the race just earlier this week, and she filed her paperwork and all that stuff. And when you file the paperwork, you officially can't be in Congress the House of Representatives anymore. So she filed her paperwork to run for the Senate, which means she must vacate her House of Representatives seat. And this is a political flashpoint, which could reshape the Democratic primary, maybe. And the national conversations about Democrats' ability to compete in red states. I actually don't think so, but we'll get to that in a minute. So Jasmine Crockett is 44 years old. She is known for her viral committee clashes, her sharp rhetoric against Republicans, and her highly stylized public persona. Again, this is just what is being said about her. This is what the internet says about her. She jumped in hours before the filing deadline, immediately after a guy named Colin Allred. He was a former NFL player who is also running. He withdrew. He left a vacuum that the party was struggling to fill. So he left the vacuum in the Democratic Party. She said, let me jump in. So her background is in litigation as a civil rights public defense attorney. She has done 2 terms in Congress already, while her Senate campaign is signaling or centering on Texas tough, quote unquote, Texas tough. Okay. Sounds pretty cookie cutter to me, but fine. She wants to expand the electorate. Of course, she's going to challenge Donald Trump. Yeah, we know. Cost of living issues, mobilizing underrepresented voters. All right, that's all boilerplate stuff. Now, the biggest storyline is the fact that she's a Democrat, and she's a heavy, staunch Democrat, and she's running in a red area, which is the whole state of Texas. And Trump won the state of Texas by 14 points in 2024. Early polling shows that she is trailing Republicans by 2 to 10 points while having a narrow edge over this guy named James Talarico in the Democratic primaries. I mean, she might actually win the primary. Doesn't mean she's going to win the general. Now, she put out an ad the other day, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. Did y'all see this ad that Jasmine Crockett put out earlier this week? This Crockett for Senate ad? Did any of you see the ad? Give me a yes or no if you saw it. Now, the ad that Jasmine Crockett put out was an ad of her. It was about 30, 45 seconds. And the entire ad is just her sitting with her profile. So you see the side of her face. It's a live image, but she's just sitting still. And you just see the side of her face. So she's looking like this direction. And all you hear in the background are clips of Donald Trump. All the clips are of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump is, what's in my Instagram froze. I don't know what happened there. But Donald Trump is bashing Jasmine Crockett. He's just saying things bashing Jasmine Crockett. Like, have you heard of this woman, Jasmine Crockett, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm starting my Instagram over. I don't know what happened there. It froze. Instagram, are we live? Let me restart Instagram. Looks like Instagram froze on me. 1 second here. All right, looks like we might be back live on Instagram. So this 45-second ad is just sound bites of Donald Trump saying things. You know how Donald Trump talks about people he doesn't like. So he has a few clips, there may be 3 or 4 clips of Donald Trump mentioning Jasmine Crockett and saying she's not very bright, she's not very smart, she's not good, et cetera, et cetera. All the things that Donald Trump says. And those clips are just playing in the background while Jasmine Crockett's just sitting there. And then finally at the end, she turns her face and looks at the camera. She says absolutely nothing. And then the ad ends and it says Crockett for Senate. That's the entire ad. Now, I found this kind of peculiar. I find this peculiar that this is her entire ad, that her pitch, the first thing that she puts out to the world to let everybody know that she's here is, hey, Donald Trump has said negative things about me, as if this is like, this is the reason why you should vote for me. I understand that you're going to leverage. I understand you leveraging the fact that Donald Trump has bashed you, because Donald Trump is, as I say all the time, the gift that keeps on giving. The fact that he exists, whether you like him or dislike him, provides a ton of material for everybody. But at the same time, like, that's what you're putting out as your campaign pitch. This is the first message you're putting out for your campaign for Senate is Donald Trump has insulted me. So Donald Trump has said negative things, or not even insulted you, but criticized me. Donald Trump criticized me, so that means I'm supposed to vote for you for the Senate because Donald Trump criticized you. I don't understand how logically her and her team, assuming that she has one, has decided that this is the best pitch for her. Now, I get if you were to splice those in between, her saying, hey, I've done this for people of Texas. And in my 2 terms in Congress, I've done this and this, or I've achieved this, or I was on this committee and we got this goal done. And we have this successful thing that has occurred while I've been in my seat for the district that I represent. She didn't do any of that. Her whole ad is Donald Trump has been bashing me. And then she just turns to the camera and it says Jasmine Crockett for Senate. So we should vote for you for Senate because Donald Trump bashed you. Well, Donald Trump bashes a lot of people, number one. And just because somebody bashed you is not a reason why we want you to represent us in the government in one of only 2 spots, one of only 2 people in the entire state. So we had a president representing the country, you got the governor running the state, and you get 2 senators in Congress. So we're supposed to choose you as one of the 2 senators because Donald Trump has said something negative about you. Successful Edward says she's not running on anything. Yeah, we're going to get to that. Don't get ahead of me. So I don't understand why she would put this out as her ad. Again, I get using it. Use it because Donald Trump's name draws attention. I understand that part. But that's what you got. That's your ad. Now, in the audio, again, Donald Trump calls her low IQ. He calls her Democrats' new star in a sarcastic way. And liberals have praised it. I think that's ridiculous. What liberal would praise that? But I guess some liberals praise it. And there was Matt Walsh, who's a conservative. There's a video he put out the other day where he was basically trashing this ad. And he basically said what I just said. He said it in a different way. But what is she doing? What are you doing, Jasmine Crockett? She's looking like a content creator. And that looks like what she's actually aiming for here, because she's not going to win the Senate race in the state of Texas. She is not going to get elected to the Senate in the state of Texas. That's not going to happen. So any of you who's a liberal or you're a Jasmine Crockett fan, continue being a liberal, continue being a Jasmine Crockett fan. She is not winning the Senate in the state of Texas. We're going to get into why she may have gotten actually tricked into running for this. I'm going to explain it to you. I heard Megyn Kelly break this down a day or two ago. And there's a whole bunch of questions around her legislative record. She doesn't have much of one. She hasn't done much. Her redistricting driven motivation for leaving a less safe House seat, basically because the redistricting that's taking place in the state of Texas means it is going to be harder for her to keep her House seat if she was to try to keep it. If she was to try to stay in the House, the districting has changed, which means she won't have as easy a win if she tries to run again. So that might be another reason why she's leaving. And her ability to appeal to Hispanics and suburban moderates, which I don't think she has any, because she's made some comments about Hispanics in the state of Texas that I don't think are going to work well for her, and it's going to get used against her, whoever she ends up running against. So there's a big issue that she has here, on top of the fact that Texas is a red state and Jasmine Crockett has no crossover appeal between her Democrat leanings and the Republicans in the state of Texas. I think she has hardly any. So she's already bashed Greg Abbott. She has continually bashed Donald Trump. She has continually put on this stereotypical blaxploitation. What do you want to call it? Just call it stereotypical. This is what a black person looks like and how a black person talks persona that she has come out with. Many believe this is not real or legitimate, and whether it is real, legitimate or not is not really the question. It's a question of, is this going to appeal to people who need to vote for her? Because when you're in politics, the game is winning elections. All of these are questions. Let me introduce myself quickly. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day, former 9-year pro athlete. Written a few books, done a few TED Talks. I run this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Our Power Presence Protocol Challenge. Power Presence Challenge is starting this upcoming Monday. You want to learn more about that? Just go to the link in my bio or just go powerpresenceprotocol.com. You see the link right there. And I'll talk about that maybe later on. I'm going to get through the content here. This will take me to about the top of the hour. Then we open the floor up and I respond to some comments. I can't read every comment, but I'll respond to some of the comments after we get through the content, so everybody knows how things go over here. So first of all, I want to get into what I heard Megyn Kelly talk about, that they have this thing called the AstroTurf process. Has any of you ever heard of the AstroTurf process? Give me a yes or a no in the comments. You ever heard of this? Because this might actually be why she's running. This thing called AstroTurf. Those who don't know what AstroTurf is, it's the material that if you go to a football field, this is the stuff that they used to use on a football field. And a lot of football players would complain about the AstroTurf because, okay, so most of you never heard of it. They would complain about the AstroTurf because it was basically concrete with a little bit of carpet on top of it. And the players would land on it and they would beat their bodies up. These days, you still have artificial field, but now it's like this fake grass, but it's much easier on the body when your body gets slammed into it like a football player or a soccer player. So a lot of fields are now that, not actual natural grass that they have to cut with a lawnmower, but fake grass, but it's much easier on a human's body. But it used to be AstroTurf back in the day. So back when Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and those guys were playing, it was AstroTurf. And AstroTurf is extremely fake. So AstroTurfing refers to, and again, I heard Megyn Kelly talk about this, so credit to her for bringing this up. It refers to a fake grassroots campaign. It's a top-down effort disguised as organic support. Listen to that again. A top-down effort disguised as organic support. In other words, you make somebody feel like they're getting organic support when they're actually not, and it's a way of tricking them. So this is what happened. The National Republican Senatorial Committee, there's a committee for this, the NRSC. There's a lot of money in politics. The campaign arm, they orchestrated a months-long recruitment process to lure Jasmine Crockett into running for Senate. The goal was to take a very vulnerable Democrat that they would rather face, other than Colin Allred, who dropped out, and Tallarico. They wanted to put Crockett as the main person instead of one of those people because Allred and Tallarico have a chance of actually winning. Allred almost beat Ted Cruz in the last election. And Tallarico, who looks like a formidable candidate, more formidable than Jasmine Crockett, the Republicans said, according to what I've read, the Republicans decided we'd rather have Crockett as the final candidate because she's easier to beat than have Tallarico or Colin Allred as the final candidate. So we want to make it seem like Jasmine Crockett is going to win. And this is what the claim is, that they did this. So here's what they said. Here's how it unfolded. First of all, they seeded the polls. So in June and July of this year, operatives from the NRSC, that's the Republican Senate Committee, again, this is an organization, they noticed that Crockett's profile was rising on social media and all the stuff that she was doing, bashing Donald Trump. All of you know about that. All you know who Jasmine Crockett is, right? So they noticed that her profile was rising, but at the same time, she was not noted in Democratic polls. Okay, so that should tell you something right there off the top. her profile was rising, meaning she was getting more popular, but at the same time, she wasn't showing up in any Democratic polls, i.e., she was popular, but there was no substance because nobody was talking about voting for her. She wasn't showing up in polls, even though she was popular. So all of you out there, content creators or want to be content creators or parents of people who want to be content creators, understand that popularity and substance are not the same thing. But they commissioned and released a new survey, including her name, showing her leading a hypothetical primary by double digits. So here's another thing you all should notice. Are you paying attention? That the NRSC, they looked at the Democratic polls, and it says the Democrats are not showing Jasmine Crockett as a candidate to win anything. They went and commissioned their own poll, their own survey, and they basically rigged the survey to show that she was actually in the lead and that she might win if she runs for something. They just made it up. What does this tell you all about statistics? All right, you have lies, damn lies, and statistics. Statistics can be easily manufactured, made up, and lied about. All of you should notice that. The Republicans created a survey that made Jasmine Crockett look like she was in the lead to lure her into running for the Senate. And this is completely legal. They did this. So they put this out, and it showed her hypothetically winning by double digits. Now, this sparked, when she did this, other Democratic-leaning firms went and copied that because they said, oh, this is information we didn't know. So they started putting out their own surveys that echoed the same narrative that showed Jasmine Crockett was in the lead. In other words, all these mofos just making shit up. This is the part y'all should actually notice. That's not even a point that I'm trying to get to you all, but notice this. The Republicans made something up to trick her, and then the Democrat committees and the Democrat organizations, they saw it and thought maybe they're behind on the news cycle. So they went and copied that same material, and they start putting it out and say, oh, hey, Jasmine Crockett's in the lead. Jasmine Crockett's the person we should talk about. All this stuff is manufactured, ladies and gentlemen. That's the part y'all should notice. So then it goes on. This pylon sparked copycat polls from Democratic-leaning firms, all echoing the narrative that she was surging. Then the Republicans, they amplified the Democrat message in progressive media and online spaces and created buzz without overt fingerprints. So they basically manufactured this whole story out of nowhere. Then here's what happened. Between August and November, NRSC, that's the Republicans, they coordinated with nonpartisan sounding groups. In other words, offshoot brands and independent expenditure arms. In other words, they made them up. Now, that's what they did. They made up people that didn't sound like they were connected to the Republicans. People wouldn't believe that the Republicans said it. So they said, let's go find people who sound like they're just not coordinated at all. I mean, not partisan. People who are just independent. And what they started doing was flooding progressive forums. They started flooding social media and email lists with calls for Jasmine Crockett to run. And here's what happens, folks. This industry, just like entertainment, is a bandwagon industry. When it seems like everybody is saying a certain thing, everybody else doesn't want to be late to the story, so they start saying the same thing that everybody else was already saying. So if all of a sudden tomorrow, for example, everybody on TV starts saying, hey, Dre Baldwin is a leading voice when it comes to politics. If all of a sudden you start seeing that on X everywhere, and you start seeing it on Facebook, not right now, I'm recording. And you start seeing it on Facebook, and you start seeing it on YouTube, and people just started saying it because I decided to just put $100,000 behind people boosting that on X and Facebook and YouTube. Then eventually you would hear it on Fox, you would hear it on CNN, you would see it on MSNBC, it'd be in the newspaper. And then people who are allegedly ahead of the story, they would start hearing it and they would say, oh, damn, we're behind the story. We didn't know that Dre Baldwin was a guy that we all need to know about. So they would start saying it. And then all of a sudden it becomes, quote unquote, organic, even though the entire thing was seeded by nonsense. This is how things are made popular. This is how people are made popular. This is how your favorite songs get made popular. All they do is they put a whole bunch of push behind, hey, look, this is the thing. And then everybody else sees it. And since it's a bandwagon industry, then everybody else just starts following the trend. This is what they did with Jasmine Crockett, according to what the NRSC said that they did. And again, this whole story came from a company called Notice. They did an investigation about this. That's the source of what I'm talking about. So this is all coming out. And robocalls start targeting Democratic voters. You know what robocalls are, right? Those are the missed calls you get to your phone every day from numbers that you don't know that might be spam. So all these robocalls were targeting Democratic voters and urging them to demand candidacy of Jasmine Crockett. So they basically just created a desire out of nowhere. Then public taunts from Cornyn, that's the Republican side, in X told Jasmine Crockett that she should run. Okay, let's see if this works. Is this on? Sound check 1 2 1 2. I don't hear anything. You hear anything?
No.
Sound check 1 2 1 2. Let me see yours. This one on? We gotta turn this one on. This one wasn't on. Sound check. 1 2 1 2. Sound check. You hear anything?
No.
I don't hear anything either. 1 2 1 2. Do they need batteries? They have batteries?
They have batteries.
Are the batteries in there?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know?
They're broken.
No, they're not broken. Go ask mommy if the batteries in there. They feel very light. I'm not sure there's any batteries in there. And close that door when you go out. Don't close it too hard. So people were starting to taunt her, I guess, to go run, and it framed her as GOP kryptonite. Again, this is the Republican committee. They start running ads calling her, huh?
They don't have batteries.
Well, that's the reason why they don't work.
Old.
They need batteries, so we can't use it until they get batteries.
But
so the ads. Okay, let me finish. I'm talking, so you can't keep interrupting me. So they were calling it GOP kryptonite. They were calling her GOP kryptonite. But again, the ads were being run by the Republicans. So the Republicans ran ads that said, close this door, son. The Republicans were running ads basically targeting themselves. They're saying, hey, we got to watch out for Jasmine Crockett because she would destroy the Republicans. So they were basically feeding her ego and saying that, hey, you should do it. You should do it. And then what happened is Jasmine Crockett, who was monitoring the data in December, just 2 weeks ago, she cited these polls in her announcement. So this is what she said, quote, the more I saw the poll results, I couldn't ignore the trends that were clear, period, close quote. They hoodwinked her. All right, they rope-a-doped Jasmine Crockett into running for Senate. That's what they did. They rope-a-doped her. Now, if she ends up winning, then all this backfires. But I am pretty sure she's not going to win. Now, NRSC sources took internal credit for orchestrating her entry, viewing her as a tomato can. That's what they called her, a tomato can. By the way, somebody calls you a tomato can, it's not a compliment. They called her a tomato can who would energize the base, the Democrats, but statewide she's going to flop. And she is going to flop statewide. Texas is very red. She's not winning the state of Texas. That's not going to happen. Now, Texas's redistricting and Trump-era turnout dynamic make her odds very slim. Dems need 20% plus crossover to win. In other words, Jasmine Crockett's got to take 20% of Republican voters and make them vote Democrat. Now, how many of you think that's going to happen? Give me a yes or no. Regardless of everything that I just said, whether you believe it's true, whether you think the NRSC is smart enough to pull this off, whether you think she got hoodwinked and rope-a-dope in the running or not, do you think she can turn 20% of Republican voters Democrat to win the Senate? That's what she would need in order to win. She needs 20% so she can join Ted Cruz as the senator from Texas. That's not happening. That is not happening. She got hoodwinked. So anyway, let's see what else do I have here. Now, Crockett dismissed this in a CNN interview. She said, open quote, I don't know that we'll necessarily convert all of Trump's supporters. That's not our goal, period, close quote. What the hell do you need? I don't know. What's our goal? Is our goal to win? If our goal is to win, then she needs to convert some Trump supporters, the red voters, into blue voters. She doesn't need all of them, but she needs 20% of them. That's a lot. 20% is a lot. Donald Trump doesn't even need to convert 20% of blue voters to become Trump voters. So this is not a new tactic, according to what I've read. GOP has used this before in 2022, according to what I read. They used this in 2022 in Pennsylvania to get John Fetterman to become a senator over stronger foes. So in other words, what the politicians do, and politicians are not stupid people. They got a lot of money to throw around, and they hire consultants who are actually very smart. What they do is they try to rig the elections, not rig them as in like fake votes, not that type of stuff. They try to rig the elections to get the weaker candidate from the opposing side, the weakest possible candidate on the opposing side, to make it easier for their side to win. Or if they know their side's not going to win, they try to get the weakest possible candidate from the other side to win so that person is less formidable even when they get into office. So one of the things you've seen with John Fetterman in Pennsylvania is that a lot of Democrats end up not liking him because he sometimes agrees with and sides with the Republicans. And what they're saying is that they actually push for him to win over stronger candidates because a stronger candidate would never side with the Republicans. So it basically gives them a better chance of getting their agenda through in Congress because they have a Democrat who would actually support Republican agendas. This is actually very smart. And again, I wasn't in the room when these things happen. I would say that it's highly likely that this is all accurate simply because, again, politicians are not stupid people. They may appear stupid with some of the things that they do, but you got to understand the game of politics is a lot different when you're on the inside than when you're on the outside. And sometimes you got to go along with stuff that logically doesn't make any sense. I've explained this 100 times here on these live streams in the past. Now, Republicans say that Crockett is a dream opponent. Okay, Republicans are happy that she's going to run. Here's why. First of all, her calling the political right a violent group, which she has done, and her policy pushes. She's called for race-based tax exemption. She has said that black people shouldn't have to pay taxes. These are all stupid things to say if you're actually trying to win a big election, which she's trying to do now. This is endless fodder for advertisement. There's gonna be so much negative ads about her that she's going to take a beating here. She'll win some votes because a bunch of Democrats are going to support her, but can she win the state? No, absolutely not. So she's radical, she's theatrical, and overall, is she actually going to get anything done? The answer is no, she's not. Now, the Dems need a whole bunch of turnout and a lot of persuasion. The problem with Crockett is that she's a base politician. Those of you who know what a base politician means, it's a person who can dominate their base because they're very heavily on their side. The problem is, in order to win an election like the Senate or governor or president, you have to get some people who are not part of your base to actually support you, which means at some points you have to be you got to moderate what you say and modulate your rhetoric a little bit. Is Jasmine Crockett capable of this? Give me a yes or a no. Is she capable of talking in a way that Republicans would say, okay, she sounds reasonable. Even though I'm normally a Republican voter, I'm going to vote for the Democrat this time around. Because she gets some of those people in the middle to vote for her. Because you get some purple voters to vote for her, Jasmine Crockett. The answer is no, she can't. Why? Because she's gone too far off the deep end on the other side that if she even tries to come back, it's going to sound fake. And all the things that she says, every time she talks, she's not talking about policy and helping people. What she's talking about is bashing the people on the right. Now you got to get some voters on the right to vote for you. How are you going to do that? Barack Obama was able to do this. Joe Biden was able to do it. Kamala Harris tried to do it. She was not very good at it. She tried. Donald Trump could do it. George W. Bush could do it. Hillary Clinton tried to do it, and she actually wasn't bad at it. She just wasn't good enough. Bill Clinton was able to do this. Jasmine Crockett does not have this ability. She doesn't have the ability to just change her stripes now. She's going to go hard base. The problem is the Democratic base in the state of Texas is not strong enough for her to win this election. This is the reason why this is not going to work. And essentially, because she cannot now go back to being in the House, Jasmine Crockett's political career is going to be on hold after this is over. And I see her podcasting or having a show on CNN or something like that. That's what I predict her future to be after she loses this election. I think she may make it to the final. I think she can win the primary, but after that, she has a problem. Now, her run is going to split resources. It ties her to vulnerable House Democrats because the NRCC is already linking her races to races that Trump has already flipped. And it risks a primary bloodbath with Tallarico. So her and Tallarico are going to go at it in the primary. She might beat Tallarico. The problem is she got to use all her resources to beat him. All her resources meaning money, by the way. Now, if she loses, it demoralizes Progressive and hands Cornyn a mandate. Cornyn, that's the guy who's running for the seat on the Republican side. And now it's like, well, hey, it's a mandate now. Mandate meaning all these people voted for me, which means whatever I said I'm going to do must mean everybody wants it. That's what they call a mandate. Since I won so well, it must mean everything I did makes it a mandate. This is the same thing people said about Trump in 2024 because he beat Kamala in every swing state. Clearly, Trump's agenda was a mandate from the American people that they want everything he was talking about. That's what people mean when they say mandate. And Jasmine Crockett, if she loses badly, let's say she beats Tallarico in the primary and then she gets her ass kicked in the general, then that's going to be the Republicans saying, well, damn, the state of Texas really wants the Republican agenda, so we're just going to push the Republican agenda. It's basically they use it as an excuse. And they're setting this all up to work in this way. That's the whole point. Even if Crockett loses the primary, another thing that happens is now they just kicked her out of politics because she won't have a seat. She will not have a space in Congress because she no longer has her House seat and she won't have a Senate seat. They kicked her out either way. Even if she wins the primary, she's losing the general. And the money that she has to use up for that. And because she is a loud voice. Now she's saying a whole bunch of nothing, but she is a loud voice. And now they just silenced her because now nobody has a reason to listen to her anymore. She'll be podcasting and not be in the same position. So this is a very interesting thing. What it exposes overall is how AI era tools and AI era data can weaponize quote unquote fake news for real outcomes. They use polls as psyops. So one thing that all of you should take from this is do not believe any numbers from any poll. If you don't want to. Now, you can believe it if you want to, but understand that polls can be made up out of nowhere. I just gave you an example. They just made this poll up out of nowhere. And then when the Republicans put the poll out, the Democrats took it and they started amplifying it because they didn't want to be behind on the news cycle. That's what happened. You put out something fake and then everybody else, because they're in the business of current events and they got to talk about whatever's news, they see something that they allegedly missed. Then they're like, oh, damn, we got to get on this. And they start talking about it as if it's real when the whole thing was bullshit from the beginning. And that's how they were able to fool the Democrats into co-signing this. Because I don't think Jasmine Crockett looked at a Republican poll and said, well, the Republicans say I'm winning. That's enough. No, she heard the Democrats say that she was winning. The Democrat polls said that she was doing well. And that's what she followed. And that's how she ended up in this situation. So this was, looks like the Republicans pulled a chess move on Jasmine Crockett. And again, even if you don't like the Republicans or think this is some nonsense or Bush League, what they just did, she's running either way. The reality is, here's the absolute fact that we all can agree, she's running. She's running for the Senate. She gave up her House seat. She had to. She can't go back into the House, at least not this time around. She's not going to win the Senate seat, so she's about to be ousted from politics. That's what's about to happen. So, any of you who's a fan of Jasmine Crockett, enjoy her while you can. Now, her late entry filled a leadership void, some say, in the Democratic field. I say that's a joke. A leadership void? How many of you see Jasmine Crockett as a leader? Give me a yes or a no. Even if you're a Democrat. I want to hear from some Democrat liberal voters. How many of you see Jasmine Crockett as a leader? Just a yes or a no. I'm not asking what you think about what she says. I'm not asking what you think about her opposition to Trump, quote unquote opposition. Do you see Jasmine Crockett as a leader? Even if I were a strong liberal, strong Democrat voter in the state of Texas, she's not a leader. She is a voice. She clearly has a voice, and she has no problem using it. She has some influence. Her influence, again, though, is empty calorie. I call it empty calories influence. This is the kind of, as I told you, her voice is very loud. She's one of the few Congress people that any of us can name off the top of our head. If I say name every congressperson you can, most of you couldn't get past 40 people, even though there are 535 people in Congress. She's one of the 40 you would name. So you know who she is. The issue is she wasn't showing in any of the polls, which tells you something very clear. Just because you have a whole bunch of attention does not mean you have substance. Because when you have substance, you show in the polls. As the old saying goes, sound and fury signify nothing. Jasmine Crockett is a bunch of sound and fury, but she signifies nothing. Now she believes the hype that was fed to her by the Republican Party. Now, this rush timing undercuts confidence in her preparation, which means, as I just explained, she jumped into the race at the last minute. It's not like all year she was saying, I'm going to run for Senate, I'm going to run for Senate. She jumped in at the last minute, like right before the filing deadline, which tells us that this wasn't even something she was seriously considering until she saw those poll numbers. And she said it out of her own mouth. The poll numbers tell me that I can't ignore the trend. The trend says that I'm up in the polls, which means I have to do what the polls say, which is run for Senate. She got hoodwinked. They rope-a-doped her. Y'all know what rope-a-dope means. That's what Muhammad Ali did to George Foreman in the big fight that they had back in the, when was that, in the 60s, 70s, whatever year that was. George Foreman was known as a big puncher. Muhammad Ali was known as the quick guy who would dance around the ring. Muhammad Ali just let George Foreman throw all his big punches. He gassed himself out. Then Muhammad Ali knocked out George Foreman, which nobody thought could happen. And he called it the rope-a-dope because he would just lean on the ropes, let Foreman throw all his punches, and then he beat up George Foreman when he was too tired. So the Republicans have tried to pull the rope-a-dope on Jasmine Crockett. Not to say that she is George Foreman, nor is she Muhammad Ali. Now, her whole pitch is Texas tough. That she thinks maybe this can energize young progressives and black voters. I say no. Texas tough is not a new phrase. And if that's the best she can come up with, that tells you that this was a rushed. This is endemic of it being a rushed decision, because that's the best phrase she can come up with is Texas tough. Now, is that what you, I don't think of Jasmine Crockett when I think Texas tough. First of all, that saying's been out for as long as I've been alive. And secondly, what's tough about her? Now, all you're doing is just running around talking. She does all these TV spots. She's on CNN all the time. She's on MSNBC. She's on social media. She's doing dances on TikTok. Like, what's tough about this? There's nothing tough about you. You're just talking. She should be called Texas Talking. She could be called Talking Tough. That's actually what they should call it. Her campaign should be called Talking Tough. That's what she does. But her talk is not even tough. It's entertainment. It's empty calories is what she is. It's the best way I can describe her. Will Avila is on Instagram. Good morning. She's just empty calories, meaning there's something there, and it takes time out of your day to listen to what she said, but what exactly is she doing? What has she achieved legislatively? Can any of you name one thing? None of you can name anything. I'll save you the time because she hasn't done anything. She hasn't done anything. She's just been sitting there taking up space, making her name known. She's very good at that. She's very good at drawing attention, which is why she's going to influencer route. Matt Walsh was talking about this. She's going to be an influencer. She's already an influencer. She's an influencer in Congress. Now she's about to be an influencer out of Congress. That's what she's about to do next. Now, she might end up with a TV. I think she's going to get a TV show or a really good podcast deal and a book deal. I think all those are coming. TV show, podcast, book. At least two of the three are coming. So her career is not over, but her political career is going to be on hold, let's just say. Now, she's 44, which means she still has time. How old is Bernie Sanders? 84? So listen, don't get excited about Jasmine Crockett losing in this race because she still got 40 more years to run if she's going to do anything like Bernie Sanders. Now, continuing, Texas is still deep red, as I showed. She's already down before she even starts campaigning. She's down 6 to 10 points before the campaign. Now, 6 to 10 points might not seem like a lot, but she has to get all those points and then some in order to win. And that's not even counting, again, her primary that she would have to win. And the problem with this is once she starts campaigning, I think Jasmine Crockett is going to have the Kamala effect, and I think it's going to be multiplied by 2 or 3. Now, what's the Kamala effect? And you know what the Kamala effect is before I even explain what it is? And I made this up. This is not something that you can find on Google. And you know what I mean when I say the Kamala effect once she begins the campaign. Any of you theorize what that means? So the framing is she's already down 6 to 10 points, and she has to win those points back. And now once she starts campaigning, the Kamala effect is going to come into effect. Anybody? So some of you are saying word salad. Well, it's not so much the word salad. And Jasmine Crockett actually, I think she's better at articulating her position than Kamala Harris is. I think she's actually better. The issue is, and this is what the Kamala effect is that someone can be a popular candidate on the surface, but the more they expose themselves and the more they talk, the more obvious it becomes that there's nothing there. That was Kamala's problem. Her campaign was 107 days, famously. And had that campaign been about 37 days, I think she could have won. She could have beat Donald Trump. The problem was the final 70 days, because the more she talked and the more she exposed herself, the more obvious it became she had no substance. And when it became obvious she had no substance, even the Democrats couldn't vote for her. That's why a lot of Democrats abstained from voting, period. And those who did vote voted for Trump because it was obvious she had no substance. Now, I believe Kamala Harris is a better politician than Jasmine Crockett, even though I think Jasmine Crockett is a better speaker than Kamala Harris. I think Jasmine Crockett is better at getting her point across than Kamala is. The problem is the points that Jasmine Crockett gets across are full of nothingness and they sound silly. Whereas Kamala would say stuff that were full of nothingness and just sounded like, what? I wasn't quite sure what she said. Jasmine Crockett, I'm very sure what she's saying when she talks. The problem is what she's saying is very ridiculous. So the more she talks, the more she's going to expose herself, and her campaign is going to collapse the more she speaks. So if she's down 6 to 10 points now, once she starts talking, she'll be down 15, then 20, then 25, then 30 points. It's going to get worse the more she talks. That's the problem that Jasmine Crockett has. The same problem Kamala has, but for a different reason. But it will still call it the Kamala effect because now all of you understand what it means. Now, there's a large skepticism that she can win. She's not going to win. Now, her viral classes give her name recognition, and she will get some donor money. Jasmine Crockett will take some money in. Now, online donors can fuel the race. She's probably going to need $50 to $100 million to win this race. There's a lot of money in politics. She will get the money. She will get the money to run. The problem is she still got to get votes. Money does not buy votes. A lot of people think it does. It buys attention, but you still have to have substance to win votes. She's not getting those votes. Now, her national notoriety is going to repel moderates and Hispanics because she says something dumb about Hispanics in Texas. There's a lot of Hispanics in the state of Texas. We got any Texas residents here? Can you confirm there's a lot of Hispanics in Texas? Now, one of the things that Jasmine Crockett said that was very stupid, that's going to hurt her, very stupid thing she said. She said that the Hispanics who voted for Donald Trump, I'm paraphrasing, but y'all can look this up. She said the Hispanics who voted for Donald Trump in 2024 from the state of Texas is almost like a slave mentality that you are going along with the very person who is oppressing you. She said that out of her mouth. And that clip is going to get used against her over and over and over again. So all the Hispanics in Texas are going to hear that soundbite. And how is she going to get any of their votes? That was a very foolish thing for her to say if she was thinking about where she wanted to go in the future. Here's the issue. She wasn't thinking about going to the Senate. She only thought about going to the Senate because she saw the polls that she, quote unquote, couldn't deny. And now here she is. So all the things that she's been saying that made her go viral is the very thing that's going to undermine her when she gets into this campaign. So she has a problem. So Trump's insults in her launch, that ad video, some say that refreshes attacks as political strength. I say, no, it doesn't. That is not political strength. So Donald Trump bashing you does not prove anything. All it proves is that you're able to get attention. That's what it proves. And Donald Trump bashes you on Truth Social or in one of his interviews or wherever he talks, and he decides to bash you. All that means is that you've done a good job of getting Donald Trump's attention and probably national attention in general, because You got so much attention that Donald Trump decided to turn his attention to you and bash you. Donald Trump has bashed a lot of people. Now, how many people have bashed Donald Trump compared to how many he bashes back? So he doesn't bash nearly as many as bash him. He bashes fewer than 1% of the people who have something negative to say about him. The thing is, if you get him to say something negative about you, that means you've done a good job of drawing attention, but that doesn't mean you have any substance. Now, she took the attention that Donald Trump gave her, and she uses that as here's the reason to, again, the ad doesn't make any sense. She doesn't say a single word. The only thing you hear in the ad is Donald Trump bashing her, as if that means, I guess she thinks this means there's like a bounce back effect. Because Donald Trump's bashing me, that must mean that I'm good. Not quite. You had to actually bring some substance. Even Donald Trump in 2024, when he had all that lawfare against him, he gets the bullet shot past his head. The other person who was trying to take him out, and they caught him before he got a chance to fire a shot. All of those negative things that were going up against Donald Trump did lead to a bounce back effect or a reverb effect. The problem is that Jasmine Crockett is missing is Donald Trump put a bunch of substance out there about what he was actually about way before any of that stuff happened. Donald Trump made it clear what he's about. He's about, I'm going to solve the economy. I'm a businessman. I'm going to run the country like a business. We're going to keep these illegals out of our country. We're going to enforce our borders. We're going to build a wall and make America great again and America first, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that he necessarily followed through on all of those perfectly. Many of you have differing opinions on that. The thing is, he made it clear what he stood for. Whether you think he did it or not, he made it clear what he was trying to do or what he wanted to do or what he told you he was going to do. What did Jasmine Crockett told you she's going to do? Give me an answer. What does she say she's actually going to do of substance that is about actually producing a result for voters? Can you name one thing? Most of you can't, even though all of you know her name, all of you know her face, all of you have heard her sound bites. Can you mention one thing of substance that she has said she is actually going to do out of her own mouth? You can't name one thing. Only thing she's famous for is coming out with these sound bites, bashing people and sounding slick while doing it, but never offering anything of substance. This is a problem for her because to win the election, you have to bring this. In a House of Representatives, you might be able to get away with this in a small enough district that your party dominates, like she did in winning her House seat. But in the Senate, when you have to win the entire state, this is not going to work. And that's why she has a problem. Now, Matt Walsh says she is a low IQ person, and it reinforces pre-existing doubts among swing voters. Let me think about, do I think Jasmine Crockett is a low IQ person? I don't know. Low IQ means maybe she couldn't pass a test. I think she does pretty well at passing tests. She does have a law degree. I think someone like her, and I've said this many times, I made jokes about people with law degrees. I have some good people I know who have law degrees, and I also know some people who are of questionable intelligence who have law degrees. Questionable critical thinking skills who have law degrees. Law degree is a very peculiar thing. That's what I'll say about law degrees. Very peculiar. Anybody here with a law degree? Put me in the comments if you got a law degree. And those of you who do have a law degree, what have you found amongst your fellow peers who also have law degrees, whether they actually work in the law or not, or politics, or they become professors, or they become actual lawyers, judges, whatever? The law degree is a very peculiar thing. Because I know some people with law degrees who are really, really smart. And I know some people with law degrees who are I'm not going to say that they're stupid. I'm not going to say they're low IQ, but I'm going to say, I'm like, you got a law degree? All right. You got a law degree? You? I just don't understand it. A law degree is a very peculiar thing. That's all I can say about law degrees is that a law degree seems a very peculiar thing. How are there people who are really, really smart with law degrees? And then there are people who just seem dumb, and they say things that sound like they're not that their well doesn't go that deep intellectually, and they have law degrees. So what does that tell us about a law degree? Answer is I don't know. I don't know. What does that tell us about having a law? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, so Yolanda says our degrees indicate we have information and work hard. Okay, I'll accept that. You have information, depends on which information, and you work hard. I don't know about the work hard part. I think if you have a law degree, that means you worked, past tense. You worked hard in law school so that you could pass the exams, get a law degree, and then you passed the bar if you did pass the bar, and then you became a licensed attorney. It just proves that you passed exams. Technically, having a law degree just proves that you passed an exam. Same way having a college degree just proves that you passed a bunch of tests. I have a college degree. Only thing it proves that I passed a bunch of tests. The college degree does not prove that I'm smart. It just proves that I passed a bunch of tests. And I say this to people with degrees all the time. They get annoyed. And some people try to say, well, you're mad because you don't have a degree, but I actually do have a degree. What makes me smart is that I'm actually smart, not because I went to school. And I think we got to apply this as well to law degrees, because I see some people with law degrees and it doesn't quite make sense to me. I thought having a law degree means supposed to be like super smart. I don't think that's what it means anymore. It does not mean you have a law degree, you're not smart. But just because you have a law degree is not the reason why you're smart. That's what I want to be clear on. Anyway, continuing. Jasmine Crockett right now, they say she has $4.6 million of cash, disposable cash, not her personal money, but campaign money. So this gives her a financial head start. And she may be able to control early messaging. The problem is, what is the message? Controlling message is one thing. What's the message? Now, her legislative record is extremely thin. She hasn't done much. And opponents can contrast her viral moments with a lack of actual substantial policy. Again, I've already brought this up 3 times. She has no policy. Now, Colin Allred's exit cleared the lane for her and denied Tallarico a divided field. Now, this two-way race allows her to consolidate urban, black, and progressive voters. I say, okay. Problem is that Texas has a whole lot of white voters and a lot of Latin voters. What about them? You can't win the election just on black people in the state of Texas. Where she thinks she is? Mississippi? All right, this ain't that. So she got a problem. Now, Tallarico has broader appeal among Democratic moderators and educators. His presence could force her leftward in the primary, hurting general election positioning. So this is another piece of the chess game of politics, is that Tallarico, that's the person she got to go against in the primary. He has an appeal amongst moderates in the Democratic Party and educators. So usually in politics, I've explained this before, I'll say it again, is that in politics, usually the way you win is you draw a clear contrast between wherever your opponent stands and where you stand. So you know how they say in boxing that styles make fights. So you have 2 fighters of a certain particular style, it makes for an interesting fight. And if 2 fighters are of different styles, it makes for a boring fight, even if they're both good fighters. So in this situation, the issue for Crockett is, since Tallarico's frame is he has the moderates and he has the educators, she's not going to beat him on moderates or educators. And she has never tried. What she's going to do then is she has to go further to the left because she's not moderate. So she has to be hard left. And even if she wins doing that, the problem is now you got to go against the Republican. And if you were already hard left during the primary, how are you going to become moderate during the general? So she has an issue. Or her ability to pivot is going to be challenged here, even if she's able to win the primary, and is all going to get used against her. So everything she does can and will be used against her. All right, speaking of a law degree. All right, that's what's going to happen to Jasmine Crockett. So she's not positioned to win, no matter which way you look at this. Now, her ad using Donald Trump's voice to frame her as a threat. Again, this sounds silly. Oh, she's a threat to Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump sees Jasmine Crockett as a threat. I think when he said they got Jasmine Crockett, she's their new star, the new star of the party. I think he was saying it in jest because she has no substance. What has she done legislatively? None of you can answer the question. She hasn't done anything legislatively. Why would she be a threat to Donald Trump? She's not a threat. Only thing she's a threat to is going viral on social media for talking shit. But people go viral on social media talking shit every day. That's not new. Only difference with her is she happens to hold a congressional seat, which she's about to not have anymore as she loses this election. So I don't see the intelligence behind this ad. And I also the other thing I would say about this is you can't have your first foot forward showing that you have no substance, and your only substance is I have some viral clips of the president talking bad about me. Like, this is the best thing you could come up with. I'm not saying don't use it at all, but the best thing you could come up with is the president has talked bad about me, and she didn't even refute any of the things he said. She just shows herself like, yeah, I'm the point that Donald Trump's been bashing. Like, really? Like, this is what you have? Jasmine Crockett, you and your team, your $4.6 million in cash on hand for your campaign, the consultants that you hire, your team, your staff, whoever it is she has working for her, this is what you came up with? This is the ad that they came up with. All of you together. Let's say she got 10 people on her team. I'm assuming she has a social media team. Can we agree? Y'all think Jasmine Crockett has a social media team? Yes or no? Y'all think Jasmine Crockett has a social media team? I would guess that she does. You got a social media team. You have a media team. You have a PR team. You got all these people. And all of you said, all right, I'm going to run for Senate, and I want to announce it to the world that I'm running for Senate. What's the best thing that I could put out that puts me in the best position to get people excited to vote for me, to run for Senate in the state of Texas, where I probably don't have a good chance of winning? What's the best thing I can do? They came up with that. Fire your consultants. Jasmine Crockett, fire your consultants. Save that money. Buy yourself a new Louis Vuitton handbag. The money you would have spent on those consultants. Fire your consultants. This is what you came up with. It tells me one of 2 things. Either A, she has very bad consultants. B, she's not very bright. Or C, she knows she's not going to win, and she's just using this to build up her own profile so that she can go get herself a book deal, a podcast deal, or a TV show after this is over. Which one y'all think it is? A, B, or C? Either A, her team sucks. B, she's just not very smart. Or C, she knows that she's going to lose, and she's just using this to build up momentum for her post politics career. A, B, or C? What do y'all think? A means her team is just trash. B is she's just not very smart, and she agreed to this. Or C, she's just using this to build up her next career, which is going to be a TV show or a podcast, because she knows she's not going to win. Somebody said all the above. I think it's mostly C. I think it's a little bit of B, and I think it's definitely A. I think A is a definite. I think her team's not very good because she hired her team. And usually people like her who appear to have a lot of ego and a lot of ambition, they don't hire people who are better than them. The same thing you heard if you read the articles about Kamala and the team that she had for her campaigns. She would fire anybody who seemed to be asking her questions of competency, not saying, are you competent, but asking her things and challenging her in ways that would actually force her to change her ways. She would just get rid of them. Usually this is what happens. In my experience working with leaders is that leaders tend to hire people who are at their level or below because they don't want to feel threatened by somebody who is at a higher level than them. So look at Jasmine Crockett, listen to her talk, and assume everybody on her team is at her level or below. And this is the reason why she got that ad. She has a bunch of bums on her team because she's just not very bright. That's B. And she's not stupid, but she's just not very bright. There's a difference. And you can pass a whole bunch of tests and get good grades in school and still not be very bright. And C is that she knows she's not going to win. I believe she knows she's not going to win. And she's using this for whatever I'm going to do next in my career, which is a TV deal or a podcast or a book deal. Maybe all three. She might get all three of those. Now, there's no policy. She hasn't mentioned anything politically. She said, we're going to fight. She's not saying anything. Again, this is Kamala Harris syndrome. She has Kamala Harris syndrome, and I don't think that she plans on saying anything. I think she's just going to do what she does, what she's been doing, because think about it. This has been working for her. Think about her arc in politics. She's won 2 House races in Congress, so she got a second term in Congress. She has built up her profile to where she's one of the 40 or so Congress people who we can name off the top of our heads. There's 500 plus of them. She's one of the 40 we know. So she's made herself known. She's made herself very popular. She's relatively young politically. And the polls just told her, quote unquote, told her that she's rising in the polls. So she has to run for Senate. Right now, I think she's smelling a whole bunch of her own urine right now. What do y'all think? I think she's smelling it and breathing it in like it's Febreze right now. Jasmine Crockett. I think she is all of the belief that everything that she's done up to this point has worked so well, there is no need for her to do anything different. That's what I think. I think she's like, look at everything I've done up to this point. Look where I'm at. Look at me. I'm one of the most popular Congress people in the country. I just got these polls that told me I should run for Senate. And here I am running for Senate, and I got a bunch of people supporting me. Why would I change my stripes? What reason does she have to change right now? I can't think of one. She doesn't have any. So this is where she's at. So I don't think she's going to do anything different. I think she's going to keep doing the same thing she's doing, and it's going to fail, and that's going to be it. Now, they say she would become the first black woman senator from Texas ever. I don't think she's going to do that. I don't think it's going to happen. But they're saying this would be historic if she did this. Well, haven't we heard this story before? Have we not heard this story before? The first black or the first woman, Hillary Clinton, we heard this. Kamala Harris, we heard this. Winsome Earl Sears over in Virginia, we heard this. And it didn't happen. The Kamala effect definition is when someone has a lot of momentum when they first get into a race, but the more they talk, the more obvious it becomes that they're an empty vessel and they basically talk their way out of a possibility of winning. That's the Kamala effect. Is when someone has popularity but no substance. And the more you dig into their substance, the more you find out that there is nothing there, and that actually ends up hurting them. The longer they're exposed, the more obvious it becomes they're no good. Now, the opposite of that would be, I'm trying to think of somebody who would fit this description. Who would y'all have the opposite of the Kamala effect? We need a person who may not be very popular at first, but the more you hear them and the more you see them and the more you experience them, the more you realize like, damn, this person is actually very good, even though they're not very well known. And the more you get to know them, the more you like them. And the more you actually see that they're good. Well, who fits that description? Give me a person that we all know. So we need an inverse of the Kamala effect. Some say Tommy Massey. Yolanda said AOC. I'm not sure about AOC. I wouldn't put AOC in there. I need somebody else, somebody of substance. Wesley Hunt. So some of these people I don't even know. So I don't know. This might be a hard question. So I got Massey. A couple people said Massey. I got to listen to Massey before I can label it to Thomas Massey. Byron Donalds. Byron Donald says something dumb that I didn't like, so I can't give it to Byron Donald. He is a good speaker. He actually does sound like he has something to say, but I can't give it to Byron Donalds right now. Tom Cotton, I hear. Chris Webber, I'm hearing. Someone said Wesley. Who's Wesley? Marco Rubio. Okay, this is a tough one because usually these are people who are not that famous. Tip said Zoran Mamdani. I say no. That one I'll reject. Sarah say, I disagree with Massey's policy views, but he is good. Okay, let's call it the Thomas Massey effect. So a few of you said Massey, so let's give it to Thomas Massey. Girl, you said Candace Owens. No, Candace Owens is too famous. It got to be somebody who's not that well known. Candace Owens is already very well known, so she doesn't qualify. It got to be somebody who's not that well known. Wesley Hunt is great. The problem with this is the person's not that well known, so we probably can't agree on the person. But anyway, let's continue. The seat is currently Republican. Democrats risk expending massive resources in a low probability race. That's going to happen. Jasmine Crockett is going to spend some money. She might get to the point of not spending that much money. She's like, we're not going to win. I'll just stay in the race and keep doing my TV spots and build up my profile. And then I'll get my podcast, my book deal, and my TV show. And that's the happy ending to this whole thing. So party strategists fear that this race could drain funds from a more winnable battle national. In other words, the National Democratic Senate Committee, this is an organization, they decide where do they want to distribute money in every race. All right, so let's put some money in the Missouri race, let's put some money in the Minnesota race, let's put some money in the California race, and they decide where to put money based on who has the best chances of winning. And sometimes they put a bunch of money, what they call in business throwing good money at bad situations. Throw good money at bad. Throwing good money at bad is taking money that is actually very useful and throwing it at something that is not going to work, such as the Republican Senate Committee, National Committee, throwing money at Jasmine Crockett to help her win when they know she's not going to win. So it's wasted money because no matter how much money you throw at this, is not going to work. So they may be baited into throwing good money at a bad possibility. But the Democratic Senate Committee might be smart enough to know this bitch ain't winning. We're not throwing any money at that. So we'll see. All that said, everybody, let's get to the comments. Let me take a quick restroom break. Give me 90 seconds. Hey, what are you doing out there? How'd you get out there? My son's out on the balcony. So let me take a quick restroom break. Let's see. I just got a text from the people at Fearless. That's Jason Whitlock's show. Y'all know them? So he just texted me asking me if I could be on the show today. And the answer is yes, I will be on the show today. But I'm not going to respond to them yet. So people over at Fearless, if y'all watching this, yes, I'll be on the show today. I can't respond to your text yet because I'm in the middle of my live stream. But all right, we'll get to pull out our soundboard.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Be right back. Give me 90 seconds.
Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down!
I'll let you hear that in a minute. All right, we are back.
Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down!
All right, so here we go. So commentary, I cannot read every single comment. Yesterday I read every single comment. That shit was taking too long. So I can't read every single comment anymore. I will skip through and find good comments. Moderators, any of you in here, when I get over to TikTok, y'all can pin comments that y'all think are any good, and we'll do it that way. But I can't read every comment like I was before. All good things must come to an end. So we want to make sure we keep it tight here. and make sure we get y'all out of here at the right time. Girlie said she's not even a Texan. How is she Texas tough? Mild Missourian maybe, but not tough. Yes, good point. She's not even from Texas. I forgot about that. The Real said a lot of Texas Hispanics confirmed. Yes, I know there's a lot of Hispanics in Texas. I've been to Texas, and Texas is right on the border. So she said something very dumb about Hispanics that's going to get used against her. And she hasn't said anything to undo it. Donald Trump said some stuff about immigrants, but he said other things that kind of balanced it out. She hasn't said anything to balance it out. The Real said Trump exists because people are sick of the Jasmine Crockett's of the world. Well, really, Trump exists because people got sick of the Barack Obamas and Hillary Clintons of the world. Jasmine Crockett's a new breed. But I get what you're saying. The Real said Ben Crump has a law degree. That's a good point. Now, I don't know if Ben Crump is dumb or not. I haven't really heard Ben Crump say anything where he's actually talking of substance. All Ben Crump does is go and find a tragedy, and then he finds a way to insert himself into it. It was actually a smart business move, but I haven't heard Ben Crump talk on anything where he's just kind of talking off the cuff. I haven't heard him do it yet, so I can't gauge Ben Crump. We can say he's an ambulance chaser. He takes advantage of what do we call it, emergencies. I haven't heard him talk enough. I heard Jasmine Crockett talk enough that I don't think she's a very bright individual. I think she knows how to use her words, but what are you using them to say is the question. Amy said paralegals work harder. I've heard that. I've heard that from actual lawyers, that they make the staff do all the work. And they collect the money and they got their name on the door, but the staff does all the work. I've heard many people say that, either the lawyers themselves or the people who work for them. So I will co-sign what you said from what I've heard. Girlie said, yes, you are correct. Oh, thank you. Girlie said, maybe Jasmine doesn't know Tejans in Texas that vote are deeply conservative and don't identify with the slave mentality. They also don't fall for being shamed into voting along identity affiliation. Yes, I see you. But I'm reading my comments, so I can't keep talking to you. So Girlie said, her team is trash. I looked up her legislative record. There's no way she doesn't have a legislative record. She hasn't done anything. The Real said Marjorie Taylor Greene made her popular. Well, that clash with MTG did help her, but she was already starting to build herself up. The Real said nobody took Trump seriously. Agreed, but he wasn't some unknown person. People knew who he was. Girlie said, I didn't know Candace until 2020. Okay, that's fine. I mean, she got very well known that she made that video about George Floyd. The Real said, I don't know if Ben Crump can read, bro. I think he can read. He doesn't know how to read. Patrice Impact, he doesn't know how to read because he files lawsuits. You can't file a lawsuit without reading. He got to be able to do something. All right, so I'm going to scroll through these comments. Not every comment, folks. We can't read every comment anymore. But I'm going to get through these. And any moderators in here, pin good comments if you see any. And then I'll read the good comments and respond to those. And then we'll get up to real time and I'll respond to some of those. ADZ said, Jasmine does more than sound bites. I agree. I agree that maybe she goes to the gym and she does her nails and she eats breakfast in the morning and she makes some arguments on the committees that she's a part of in the House of Representatives. I'm sure she does more than sound bites. What is she mostly known for are her sound bites. ADZ. So please, let's not do the literalism here.
Stop it. Get some help.
Yolanda said, law library is a lot of work, lots of hours. Okay. And what does that have to do with somebody's level of intelligence or critical thinking skills? And the answer is nothing. Construction workers work hard too. So do maintenance men. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're very smart. Marcus said ambulance chasers. Yeah, Ben Crump is good at chasing ambulances. So Ben Crump is obviously very fast because he chases down those ambulances. Nee said major in medical from Stanford and minor in law from Harvard, chose to be a doctor. Is that you or are you talking about somebody else? Yolanda says smart and intelligent is about behavior. I don't know about that. I think, well, if you want to call it that, I think mostly it's subjective. So when someone says smart and intelligent, usually it's their definition of what it means. And intelligence is really about processing speed. That's really what intelligence is. Because if I ask you a question and you answer it really quickly, then you can come off as very intelligent. But if it takes you an hour to answer the question, even if you get the same answer, you seem less intelligent because it took you longer to figure it out. So it's not even so much of do you have the information? Because these days, anybody can get any information. Anything that a lawyer knows, I could probably find out. I might not know it off the top of my head like a seasoned attorney, but I could find out. I can go Google it or read a book or go to the law library, as was mentioned earlier. It would just take me longer to get the information. So usually intelligence is also all about how quickly you can process an answer and produce it as opposed to somebody else taking longer, which is a valuable skill. Now, what does this have to do with Jasmine Crockett's capacity as a politician? Nothing. Now, she may have been good at doing it when it comes to the law, but she's not a lawyer right now. She's a politician. She was just a lawyer. We won't be talking about her. User said it means you know the law. Maybe, user. It means that you know how to interpret the law, hopefully, if you're any good, because there are lawyers who are not good. So, I don't know. Yolanda says she has no policy, nor does Kamala. Well, Kamala tried to throw some policy out there. It's just people didn't believe it. That was the problem, is that people didn't believe her. Tana said, degrees mean you're good at retaining info. Doesn't mean you're able to apply it in the real world. This is correct. That is what a degree means. 555 Farang said, Jasmine is pro-Israel. Well, Jasmine is pro whatever her donors tell her to be, because she didn't get there. She didn't get her spot by substance. Let's compare her to somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Jasmine got there by having some people put a battery in her back. They told her what to say. She said it, and here she is. Cece said, I think most really want moderate, not hard right or left. Well, she can't moderate. That's the problem. She can't be moderate. So I don't think this is going to work for her. Deb said, Coco Crap is running for Hollywood. Thinks she's a movie star. Who's Coco Crap? I never heard that term before. Who are you talking about? ADZ said, clearly you have not studied Jasmine in Texas clearly. She needs to be studied. ADZ, if you've been studying Jasmine Crockett, I would suggest you devote your time and your resource, your most valuable resource, to other endeavors. You studied her. What have you learned in your study? Tell us what you learned in your study. And now I'm putting the spotlight on you. I'm interested to hear this comment. Yolanda says she's building a name for herself. She's an opportunist. Nothing wrong with that. I don't mind opportunism. But where is it going? Jeffrey Lennon said, are you a Republican? No, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I have no political affiliation. J. Rocker said, by what you're saying, the ad's going to have very little to do if she wins or not. Why does it matter? Well, any ad probably has very little to do whether you win or not. And why does it matter? Because she put it out. And we're talking about current events. What do you mean, why does it matter? Why does anything matter? On these odds, we talk about things that are happening. Jasmine Crockett is the subject. She put that out to announce that she was running for Senate. The literal topic today is Jasmine Crockett is running for Senate. That's why it matters. The Miss Kissling said, if you're the smartest person in the room, there's a huge problem. I understand that. I understand that point. I've heard it before. It makes sense. Yolanda says she's good at blowing smoke. I don't even think she's doing that. I think she's just drawing attention to herself. That's what she does. JDA Blue said, I believe she's arrogant enough that her ego thinks she's going to win. I think the polls told her that, but she might be waking up to some cold glass of water in the face like Jordan Belfort, like the Wolf of Wall Street. Remember in the movie, his wife kept throwing water in his face? That's her. That's Jasmine Crockett, right? Again, the water thrown in her face. Texas said, I think her district is blue enough she can win if people keep voting on emotions. Well, first of all, you don't win a Senate race by winning a district. You got to win the whole state. That's the problem. She won her House seat because her district was blue, but the district got redrawn, which is why it'd be harder for her to win that district again in her next election, which is why one of the reasons why she vacated that House seat. Now, her district being blue is not enough for her to win a Senate election. That's the reason why she's not going to win. Jean Nad says she might win. People are dense. No, there are not enough dense people for her to win the state of Texas. Keep dreaming. J. Rocker said, you literally said the same thing about Trump. Why change what's working? No, I didn't. And Donald Trump's been out since 2016, J. Rocker. How long have you been listening to me? I haven't been on TikTok. I wasn't even on TikTok in 2016. So that's a straw man. So congratulations to you.
Strawberry cheesecake.
For getting yourself a slice of strawberry cheesecake. Michelle, good morning. JDA Blue said, this Texas girl is not voting for her. Well, some people will vote for her. She's just not going to win. Then they said, I vote based on knowledge and principles. How can they make my life better? Well, if that's how you vote, Nene, you shouldn't vote at all because no politician is going to make your life better. I get what you mean, though. I'm joking, but I'm not. Wesley Hunt. Is he running in Texas? Where's Wesley Hunt at? I don't know who even he is. I see a bunch of you mention his name. I don't know who he is. AD said they moved the district line to include upper middle class, so their taxes go to other districts. Yeah, and also there are some voters over there that won't vote for Jasmine Crockett. That's her issue. Mermaid said, I think I once heard that you shouldn't vote for someone because of the color of their skin. Well, anybody's entitled to that opinion. Doesn't mean people are going to follow it. Let's see. Yolanda said Candace would be a good choice. Good choice for what? Candace is too famous. No, Candace doesn't count. She's already famous. Candace has been famous for a while. AD said, Jasmine going to win. Why y'all laughing? Oh, well. Yeah, she's not going to win. ADs, you want to bet some money on that? I'm willing to take whatever amount you want to bet. That Jasmine Crockett does not win the Senate in the state of Texas. How much you willing to bet? We can put it in escrow. Sarah K, thanks for the follow. Karina said everyone knows Wesley in Texas. What is he running for? What position is he running for? James Dalton said her district is being gerrymandered. She has nothing to lose by running. TV is her best option. Yes, I agree with all that. She's going on TV. Yay 45. Have a good weekend. King Titan said the DNC 1.5 to $2 billion into Harris, and she was $20 million in debt when all was said and done. Yeah, she did spend a lot of money. She's spending on influencers. AD said she has done her homework. Doing your homework. What homework? What are you talking about? ADZ, are you on Jasmine Crockett's campaign committee? Are you part of the staff? Did you make that ad? I think ADZ made that ad that Jasmine Crockett put out. ADZ, was that you? Because if it was,
Stop it. Get some help.
Get some help. Well, next time you make an ad for Jasmine Crockett. Next ad, get some help. We're at 77,000 likes, folks. Can we get to 100K, please? Yolanda said, I don't care what platform the one sits on, just do your job. You just need both parties to agree. Well, you just need both parties to agree. That sounds good. I hope that can happen. All right. I'm almost caught up to the beginning, folks. I'm trying to get to not the beginning, but the current comments. Then I'll read straight from what's happening. What a joke said, what difference does it make if she's bright or not? Donald Trump not, and he won. Well, Donald Trump has proven through his accomplishments in life that he actually has substance. Donald Trump has built businesses, built buildings. He has a brand name. He was very well known before he got into politics, and he had a very popular TV show before he got into politics. So I think Donald Trump's actually very bright. I think people don't like him. So then they say he's not bright because they don't like him. So which is middle school lunchroom stuff. You don't like somebody, so you say they're not smart. Donald Trump's actually a pretty smart guy. Look at his results. He's won 3 Republican nominations nationally and 2 general elections nationally. How many elections has Jasmine Crockett won? Let's see. Justice Scroll said, law school teaches what to think, not how to think. All of school teaches what to think, not how to think. So you're correct about that. Let's not just limit it to law school. Sir Philpott said, what do you think about Erica Kirk's response to Candace Owens' recent answer request? Which response? Erica Kirk said a lot of things, but she hasn't actually mentioned Candace Owens' name yet. I'm waiting for that. I'm waiting for her to actually say her name. She hasn't said her name. Now, I saw the clip of Barry Weiss interviewing Erica and said, what do you say to Candace Owens, who's been saying things about you? And then Erica Kirk just said, stop. That's all she said was the word stop. She didn't say anything else. I want Erica Kirk to actually address the things that have been said. But at this point, Candace has already gone so deep in it, she's not going to stop. I heard her last episode. She said she's not going to stop, and she shouldn't stop. So that's how I feel about it. I don't know if that's what you're asking, though. AD said, literalism, that's cap. What are you referring to? Carmel said, Jasmine is very outspoken. All right, that I agree with. EJ said, people underestimate Jasmine Crockett's ability to change the landscape in Texas. EJ, you overestimate her ability to change it. She's not changing anything. Jasmine Crockett is who she is. Okay. I remember when I was playing basketball, I was talking to an agent. I was in Germany, and this agent was talking to me about one of his clients, a different player who was one of his clients that we both knew him. And he said at this point, he was telling me how some teams, they will sign a player who is younger because they think the younger player can develop and get better. And then he was talking about one of his clients. He said, well, a guy like him, he just is who he is. Like, this is who he's going to be. So if this is what you want, sign him, but don't sign him thinking that he's going to become different. He just is who he is. Jasmine Crockett is who she is. She's not changing. That's who she is. So if you vote for Jasmine Crockett, you know what you're getting. All right, nothing's changing. TKD Rosie said, why do Democrats protect and support illegals and criminals and refugees? Because Donald Trump went against them. Easy question. Thank you for setting me up for that easy question.
Have some more chicken. Have some more pie. It doesn't matter if it's boiled or fried.
Live Free said, there's nothing wrong with trying to participate in the change you want to see. I agree. There is nothing wrong with it. It depends on when you say participate in the change you want to see, what are you participating in? And do you believe there's actual change happening there? That's the question. It's not your Sally Struthers here, Barney and Friends framing is not really saying anything. J. Rocket said, it's not a straw man. You literally said Trump keeps using what's worked for him. I literally said that. When did I say that? And if I did say it again, that is not what I said at the beginning of Trump, which again, I haven't been doing these live streams for maybe about a year and a half. So again, I didn't say that when Trump came out. Jasmine Crockett is recent. And Donald Trump's running for president. What's worked for Donald Trump worked because it's actually worked. Let's be clear what working means. Work is he won 3 Republican nominations, 2 general elections. How many has Jasmine Crockett won? 0. So you cannot equate what Donald Trump has done to what Jasmine Crockett has done because they've done completely different things. Donald Trump on a much higher scale and a much bigger level. So your attempt here.
Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down! This is for my safety. Put the phone down!
So highlight said Crockett is a Jew Uncle Tom. Okay. EJ said, what's your opinion of Jasmine Crockett? Now, she has no substance. That's my opinion. Mima, thanks for the follow. Carmela said his dad gave him wealth. No, he didn't. His dad passed on a business to him. And he went and made it a lot bigger than what his dad made it. There was no Trump brand when Donald Trump took over his dad's business. KP said he is not bright. Have you heard him speak? Who are you referring to? HB May said, I have met very intelligent people that I didn't care for, which is fine. Usually when someone says someone's not bright and not smart, that just means you don't like them. So that's one of the things that you use as a way of ad hominem their existence. So you don't like the person, they're not bright. You don't like Donald Trump, so he's not bright, he's not smart. Well, he won 3 Republican nominations. So how did he do that? Was it just luck, or is he just appealing to stupid people? What is it? No matter what you say is cope. Birdie Brown, thanks for the follow. Let's see. Karina said, changing the landscape. I need that laugh. Yeah, she's not changing any landscape, please. Melissa said, you lost all credibility when you said Trump is actually smart. Not even his supporters are buying. I lost all credibility, Melissa, and why are you still listening to me if I have no credibility? Trump is actually smart. He took a business that his dad gave him. He made it much bigger than it was. All of you knew his name before politics. You're talking about him right now. So if he's not smart, why are you talking about a person who's not smart? And how did he win 3 Republican nominations and 2 general elections if he's not smart? How did he do it? How did he do it if he's not smart? Someone explain that to me. Is it because he's only appealing to stupid people and most people are stupid and they're the people who you disagree with conveniently? And then all the people who are smart, they voted against Donald Trump, but there are more stupid people than there are smart people. And that's the only explanation for why Donald Trump won. All right, that sounds like a big, big bowl of copium. All right, that's what that is. That's copium.
Emotional, damn it.
Donald Trump's not smart. That's the reason why he's been president twice. And he won 3 elections. And he has all these supporters is because he's not smart. And the only reason he won is because only the dumb people voted for him. But you, being too smart, you didn't fall for it, but all the stupid people did. So what I said, I've said this many times when I hear people using this frame. What a lot of people said after Kamala lost was that the educated, because they put polls out. Again, I already told you about polls and surveys that they can be very easily rigged. That it showed that educated people voted heavily in favor of Kamala Harris, which educated people generally vote Democrat. Educated just means people with college degrees. I have a college degree. And they say, well, the people with the college degrees voted for Kamala as a cope. It's cope. Oh, so all the smart people voted for Kamala, but Kamala lost. So just because all of you voted for her, what it makes you feel better because you consider yourself educated because you have a college degree, but you didn't get the outcome. This is a results-based business, folks. It's not a cope-based business. It's a results-based business. In other words, what that means is you are judged by the outcomes of your actions, not the feelings behind the outcomes themselves. Kamala lost the election. So all of you, quote unquote, smart people who didn't vote for Donald Trump, or you don't like Donald Trump, you don't support Donald Trump, that makes you feel good to say that he's not smart. Does it change the outcome? The answer is no, it doesn't. And this is an outcome-based business. In life, you will be judged on your outcomes. When you die, your obituary will list your outcomes, not your feelings. So I suggest many of you just take a different approach. Many of you get way too much in your feelings about these topics that we talk about here. Who cares about your feelings? Sir Philpott said, Jasmine C uses ghetto ignorance because that's how she feels about her constituents. I don't know that's how she feels. I think she might just be acting. She might be a very good actor. Karina said, Jasmine has also never had to compete. This is true. She's going to have to compete here, but she's going to lose. That's the problem. The problem is she's not going to win. She's going to compete. She's going to lose. Van said, tell the truth about her, which is what? Gorenstein, thanks for the follow. Jay Rocket said, Jasmine didn't win yet. Whether she will on the future remains to be seen. Trump and Biden were 80. Jay Rocket, you are coping.
It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more.
Gorenstein said, he is very smart. Wish I was that smart. I don't know who you're talking about. Hopefully you're talking about me. Lynn Mock Beelan said, Texan here. Please don't vote for Jasmine. Nothing but rage baiter. Well, she's not going to win the election. People are going to vote for her, but she's not going to win the election. So people will vote for her. HB May said he took $1 million and turned it into billions. Generally, that's correct. Sarah K said he's the least smart at manipulation. LOL. Well, anytime you're working with other humans, you on some level have to manipulate. Anytime you're working with other people, manipulation is happening. People don't call it manipulation. Some people call it influence. Some people call it persuasion. But those are forms of manipulation. Manipulation means to maneuver something in such a way to get the thing that you want. That's manipulation. So Jasmine Crockett is good at manipulation too. Donald Trump's just better at it. And he can do it to more people. Every salesperson is a manipulator. The good ones make a lot of sales. The bad ones make fewer sales. Melissa said, I'm still listening because I'm trying to figure out your affiliation. Oh, well, Melissa, being that you're educated and smart, you should have figured it out 10 minutes ago. What's taking you so long? And my affiliation is to objectivity, logic, and results. So now I just told you. You could have just asked me instead of trying to figure it out. I mean, being that you're so smart, you should have figured it out on your own without me having to tell you. Scott Young said, TDS in here this morning. LOL. JDA Blue said, I don't always agree with what you say, but I appreciate what you say and I'll continue to follow you. Well, I appreciate that. Tiffany Santo Pietro said, no, Melissa, stay so I can hear Dre educate you. Rather than Pearls, good morning. Katrina said, he actually won 3. We know it. Well, I got to be careful. I can't get banned off TikTok again, Katrina. So you said that, not me. EJ said, people voted for Trump because they were counting on free checks like he did on his last presidency. EJ, you got to come with something better than that. That's the best you got.
Oh, I like your funny words, Magic Man. Strawberry cheesecake.
EJ, the consultant, congrats on that strawberry cheesecake. Don't get any crumbs on your dress shirt. All right, this morning. All right, now that you said people voted for Trump because they wanted free checks. Those checks were not free. All right, everything is paid for. And he hasn't sent any checks. And the only reason we got the checks, everybody got checks during the first term was because the virus came around. That wasn't part of the election process. We didn't know that was coming. Let's see. Let's see. Karina said, I want Wesley versus Jasmine debate. This one will make great content. What is Wesley running for? ADZ said, I'm going to need my money. Oh, well. What was the amount? I didn't see the amount. ADZ, how much you willing to bet on Jasmine Crockett winning the election? What's the amount you're willing to bet on this? I'm talking the general election in the state of Texas, not the primary. Let's see. Where am I? Live Free said, Dre, you have credibility because you played professionally compete. Well, that had nothing to do with what I'm doing now. I played a sport professionally. But what does that have to do with my ability to get on here and talk to y'all? I don't think that has anything to do with it. I have credibility because I'm able to break down and explain things. I have credibility because of my communication skill and my ability to break down things. I think that's what I put on display here. Like, the fact that I played a sport has nothing to do with anything that I do on this in front of you folks. J. Rocker said, it's not cope. What I said is the truth. Well, of course, people call anyone who is coping calls their cope truth. What you said is cope. JDA Blue said, everyday life is a manipulation. Yes, it is. Everyday life is a manipulation. You turn on the TV, you're being manipulated. You watch the news, you're being manipulated. Stardust said, had some strawberry cheesecake. Yeah. J. Rocker said, because you're saying that you're unaffiliated, but your framing suggests otherwise. Well, I said I'm unaffiliated. So what does my framing suggest? What am I affiliated to? Please tell me my affiliation. I'm open to hearing this. Maximus says, everyone mad because Trump doesn't mess around, has everyone scrambling. Well, he has at times. I would say that. Sir Philpott said, Trump is executing moves in chess while his opponents think he is playing checkers. AD said, get the comment stain removal out. Yeah, pretty much. Wesley is running for Senate in Texas. Who's he? Oh, Wesley is Wesley Cornyn? Maybe I got the names mixed up. Maybe that's where I'm getting confused here. Live Free says, it's hard to have the balls to be judged by others. Yes, it is. That's why I say Candace Owens had more balls than most men. Let's see. Breadman said, brother, you taking people to school today. Love it. Well, all right, I'll take that. I'll take that. Wesley is Senator for Texas. So is Wesley Cornyn? Is that the same person? I'm just getting names mixed up. Maybe that's what it is. Maximus says, yes, you have very strong communication skills. Well, thank you. I teach people communication. That's why we had a power presence. See that book right there up above my head? The power presence is all about communication. All Things AZ said, this TikTok is a manipulation. This is true. Yes, it is a manipulation. Yes, I'm manipulating you all right now. JDA Blue said, can I get on that bet? I'm on your side. We got to get ADZ to put up twice the money because I don't want to split my money because I know I'm winning. So if I let you in on the bet, JDA Blue, I'm cutting into my money for no reason. We got ADZ. You willing to put up more money? ADZ, I'm not reading every comment, so I didn't see your comment about Shador Sanders. I'm not reading every comment. I told y'all that today I'm not reading every comment. I mentioned this early at the beginning of this live. I'm just scrolling through and just picking out comments. What'd you say? I need ADZ a dollar amount that you're willing to bet on Jasmine Crockett winning this Texas election. That's the thing I'm really concerned about. That's my priority right now. How much money are you willing to bet on Jasmine Crockett winning so I can collect my money? This is easy money. Please give me the money. Put that money in escrow so I can easily collect my money. Melissa said a lot of glaze going on in this chat for what? What does that even mean? What are you referring to? What's the glaze? And I don't know if I don't like people over the age of 30 using the term glaze. What does that even mean? Glaze. HB Mays said, don't confuse balls with stupidity. I'm not. Wesley Hunt. So Wesley Hunt is running as what, where, and when? I'm getting names mixed up here. Wesley is better than Cornyn. Okay. Is he running against Cornyn in the primary, the Republican primary, or the Democratic primary? Sunshine said, I would love to know what your thoughts are on Erica Kirk. Sunshine and Whiskey, were you not here yesterday? I did damn near 3 hours on Erica Kirk yesterday. You weren't here. You must not have been here. Watch the replay from yesterday. Bridget, etc. Thanks for the follow. AD said 1,000. So you want to bet 1,000 on Jasmine Crockett winning the Texas State Senate election? Just give me the money. You might say, listen, you know what, ADZ? We can preclude, wait until the election happens. I'll let you just give me $500 now and we'll consider it settled. All right. Or you could just lose 1,000. You lose $500 now, you lose $1,000 later. All right, what you want to do? We got to find a platform that lets a platform that lets people bet and put the money in escrow. We got to find that platform so we can get ADZ to put that $1,000 on the table. I don't believe him. Ms. B said, does your book cover communication for interviewing by chance is where I struggle? Well, my program does. The book, this manual is what you get when you're in the program. So if you want to be coached by me, just get into the program. Text the word power to the number in my profile or just click the link in my profile, Miss B. And the answer is yes, I do help people with that. All forms of communication, whether you're doing a live stream, you're doing a job interview, you're on a date, you're talking to some girl at the mall, you're at a meeting at work, you want to write a book, anything that covers communication. And remember, folks, that half of communication is absorption and observation, not just speaking. So we cover all aspects of communication, verbal and nonverbal, when you are sending it out and when you are taking it in. Those are 4 areas of communication: verbal, nonverbal, sending it out, taking it in. All of that is communication. Most people only think about talking, which is only 1/4 of communication. Actually, it's less than that. Actually, most communication is nonverbal. Wesley versus Tallarico with Wesley winning. But what about Candace Owens? Jasmine Crockett, Karina. Jasmine Crockett is running versus Tallarico, is she not? Now I'm confused about what's happening in Texas. See, I don't live in Texas. KB said this chat is fun. I agree. It is fun. Karina said, oh, you're saying the general is going to be Wesley versus, okay. So Wesley is going to be running for, is he running against Cornyn in Texas in the Republican primary? Tiffany said, my 10-year-old says glaze. She's showing her age. Yeah, I don't use terms like that. If I hear 19-year-olds using the term, I'm not using it. Dale Whoop'em Houston, thanks for the follow. Turner said, glaze is an uneducated term. We're here because we want to listen glaze on. Well, it's not even uneducated. I'll use slang terms every now and then. Not always here. But I like to use terms that are age appropriate for my age bracket. I'm not using anything I hear a teenager saying. Maximus said, I'm trying to figure out how Jasmine was even elected. Well, she's in a heavily blue district, and I don't think she was opposed. I don't think she had to beat anybody, as far as I know. But maybe I'm wrong. So Ruthie says, Wesley Hunt is Republican. So is it Wesley versus Cornyn? I'm just looking for clarification here. Is it Wesley versus Cornyn? Yeah, okay. So Marie told me Wesley's running against Cornyn in a Republican primary, then Tallarico versus Jasmine in the Democrat primary. Okay. Jasmine might win the Democrat primary, but she's not going to win against either one of those people on the right. That's the issue. Christy, thank you. Have a good weekend. Yolanda said, let me ask you this. Are you against women in politics? I'm just trying to understand. Where'd you get that question from? No, that's a loaded question. I get a loaded question, Sam. Why would I be against women in politics? What woman? What woman have I said something? I said Kamala is not a good. She was an empty vessel. I think Jasmine Crockett is also an empty vessel. Then I might tell her something about how a black woman, and Kamala black, is able to get to the position that they're able to get to in politics. So they had to be an empty enough vessel that they can be told what to say. Maybe. I'm not saying that's the case, but maybe. But we can't use two people. Two people is not enough of a sample size. Karina said, I'm surprised you never heard of Wesley. He's buddies with Byron. I don't pay that much attention to these folks. I pay attention to them if it's a big enough story to become this content, but I'm not super duper into politics like that. Marky asked me about Super Tanker. I don't know about that, so I have no thoughts. Karina said Jasmine won't make it in the primaries. All right, we'll see. I think she got a chance. Bridget, etc. said Wesley's running against Cornyn and Paxton. Okay. Got it. Doc says she will likely not win. However, living in Texas the last 23 years, Texas is moving blue. I've heard that. It's moving blue. I don't think it's enough for her to win the Senate. If she does, then if ADZ puts his money up, then I will owe him $1,000. Marina says Cornyn has no chance. It'll be Hunt and Paxton on the Republican side. Okay, fair enough. Albert the Builder, thanks for the follow. Yolanda said, you remind me of the late Charlie Kirk. Bless his soul, may he rest in peace. Well, thank you. What about me reminds you of Charlie Kirk? I haven't heard anybody say that. Googleplex said glazed like a donut. Yeah, I know what it is. Googleplex, I know what it means. I know exactly what it means. We used to use different terms back in 10, 20, 30 years ago. I just don't like using that term because I see teenagers. Again, I'm not a teenager, so I'm not trying to relate to them. Yolanda says, sounds like you're against women in politics. No, let's use color, please. Yes, I'm black. How does it sound like I'm against women in politics? That's emotional damage.
Emotional damage.
What woman? What woman am I against in politics? Kamala was vice president and a senator. That's why I said Kamala is a better politician than Jasmine Crockett. That's what I said. Kamala is better than her. Jasmine Crockett won. I don't think she was opposed by anybody when she won her House seat. She has no substance. She has not done anything legislatively the whole time she's been in Congress. All she has is sound bites and social media followers. She has no substance politically. That's what reason why she's going to lose. The fact that I'm criticizing her does not mean I'm against women or black people. It just means I'm criticizing her. And what happens is women specifically do this, generally speaking, not all women. Women and black people tend to personalize whenever a woman or a black person gets criticized, and they try to make it seem like, oh, you're just against women or you're just against black people. No bullshit. Get that emotional nonsense out of here.
Emotional damage.
She has no substance. That's what it is. Yolanda says, you're hard on women. I don't know about that. The topic here today is a woman, and I think she has no substance. So maybe that's how it sounds. Misty said, how do I feel about Tallarico? I don't know much about the guy, so I have no opinion on him. JDA said, my guess her comparison is that you're open to debate all sides. For me, yes, I'm open to any side. I don't care about politics. I care enough to use it for material like I'm doing right now, but I have no side politically. I don't care if the Republicans are doing things or the Democrats are doing things. I'll use whatever. Donald Trump is the best subject because he's the one that everybody has something to say about. And Yolanda said, I'm black and I don't do color. Fair enough. And you agree with me on both women? All right, good. And Donald Trump is the best subject because, again, everybody has an opinion. So it draws a lot of attention. And Jasmine Crockett has made herself known by using Donald Trump's name. So that's why she's a good subject. I don't know if we're going to talk about her so much in the future because it ain't really that much to talk about. She doesn't really have, there ain't much there. At least with Donald Trump, he does different things. So he gives you new topics. Jasmine Crockett ain't really giving you nothing. Lana says, same here. I don't care about parties. Me either. Sean said, me either, do the right thing. Yeah, the right thing is to not even be emotionally invested in these folks because they're not emotionally invested in you. That's what I tell all citizens. Politicians are not emotionally invested in you. You can like who you like and vote for who you want to vote for, but are they really trying to help you? They're really trying to help themselves. They're trying to keep their jobs, which means winning an election because they get access to money and power when they win. You lose, you get kicked out of the group. And as I've said many times, Congress should not be a full-time job. It was not designed to be that by the founding fathers of this country. It's not supposed to be a full-time job. It's supposed to be like a board seat at a corporation. You might get a couple $1,000s for your service, but you don't make enough money that you can do it as your full-time gig. You can't live in Washington, D.C. You got to live where you're supposed to be actually serving and do a real job or a real business and really be in your hood, in your area, and serve the people so that they can see you every day. Not living in Washington, D.C., claiming that you're representing Iowa or Texas or Nevada when we don't even see you because you live in Washington, D.C. All right. That's not the way it's supposed to be. So I don't trust any of these mofos, Democrat or Republican, none of them. So any of you want to know where I stand politically, that's where I stand. J. Rocket said, what do you think about the grand jury failing to indict Letitia James? Again, you said she wasn't in trouble. She's still in trouble. I did a whole live on that, J. Rocket. You must have missed that one. I did a whole live explaining that they're going to refile the indictment. So the judge said they couldn't do it because Halligan was not supposed to be the one that did it. It was a procedural dismissal, but it was without, what do they call it? Without prejudice, which means they can do it again. So they're going to refile it. That's all that's going to happen. ADZ said, you set yourself up when you said she can buy an LV bag. What are you implying? You left yourself OP. Set myself up for what? What am I setting myself up for? I said she could buy an LV bag. What am I implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm literally saying she could buy a little Louis Vuitton bag. They cost $10,000. What am I implying? ADZ, please be Matlock and tell me what I'm implying when I say she could buy a Louis Vuitton bag. Tell me what I'm implying by saying that. Pepper said, politicians only care about themselves. They may talk a bunch of crap. They never clean it up. Well, some of them try. The thing is, the ones who try to clean it up end up getting kicked out because they realize that that's not how it really works. You want an example of that? Go look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. She tried to do the right thing, quote unquote, the right thing politically. She realized that that's not the way politics works. It's just like, let me get the hell out of here and go back to doing the business. It's easier. She thought she was going to get in there and actually do something for real. And she realized that's not the way it works. Maxima said, who better run the country than someone that's not only strong but financially savvy? Fair enough. The problem is the country is such a big bureaucracy that he can't even do what he wants to do. It's still not going to happen. So Trump is trying, but he's not going to succeed. There's just too much bureaucracy. Alma Delia Services said, I like that. That's true. Thank you. Sean Terry said, common sense. Only issue I have with term limits, sometimes you lose really good ones. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, you got to keep the bad ones. So the trade-off is I'd rather have them all get shipped out. Term limit should be like one term. It should be like 4 years. You do one term, then you got to go. Maybe 2 terms. If you're good, you get, let's say 2 terms. Everybody gets 2 terms, then you're out. And you can't have that spot ever again in your life. 2 terms and out. I say that should be the House and the Senate. So then you got fresh faces every time, and nobody can get so entrenched that they start to get, you start to get the nonsense. You get, what's the word that I would use here? The word is escaping me, but we don't want any funny business. Let's just call it that. We don't want the funny business. So indictments keep failing. No, only 2 indictments failed. The one on Letitia and the one on, who's the other guy? Comey. But it was on a procedural detail. They're going to refile. And I did a whole 2 hours explaining it. Maximus said, you need to go after Nancy Pelosi for insider trading and her nephew Gavin for money laundering. I need to go after him? I ain't no judge. Jay Rocker said, you're being facetious talking about her buying a bag. So I got a right to be facetious. The hell y'all think this is? A college classroom? This is my live stream. I say whatever I want. If you find it facetious, how the hell is that my problem? Let's see. Pepper said, let me put it this way. The politicians that don't care outnumber the ones that do. Exactly. Yes. Lynn Link said, I think it makes the organizations helping the new members even stronger. Mama Nick said, what's the topic today? We're talking about Jasmine Crockett running for Senate in the state of Texas. Doc said, term limits will ensure that they are actually working for their constituents. Yes, and it ensures that they can't get entrenched deeply enough for the funny business. That's the whole point. J. Arkin said, you're right, but we can't respond to it. Yeah, technically you can. And the answer to my response to your response is, so what? I'm being facetious. Yes, I'm being facetious when I said she could buy a Louis Vuitton bag. What am I implying? I'm still waiting for somebody to explain to me. Because ADZ left the comment said I was implying something. What am I implying? I meant that literally. She could literally take the same money she would use to run for the Senate and instead use that money to buy a Louis Vuitton bag. Actually, I wasn't talking about the Senate. I was talking about the consultant she paid. So whatever she paid that consultant to come up with that terrible ad, she should have used that money and bought herself a Louis Vuitton bag. I think it would have been money better spent. And the Louis Vuitton bag might actually be worth something in a couple of years, whereas that ad will be worth nothing. So I was not implying anything. I meant that literally. It was a joke, but I still meant it. A lot of truth is said in jest. Cat Crooks, thanks for the follow. Cat Cooks, thanks for the follow. CC, can she actually buy a Louis Vuitton bag with campaign money? No, she can't. That's why it was a joke. But I was equating the value of what she paid that consultant, which was probably a lot of money, with what she could have got for it was something that might actually be worth something, that Louis Vuitton bag. JDA Blue said, always a pleasure watching your lives. I have to go to work. Me too. So we about to wrap up this live in a minute. K. Norris said, yesterday it was announced the second grand jury refused to indict Letitia James. Yeah, they're going to do it again. That's what I'm saying. They're going to do it again. Karina said, you watched the video with the guy that Jasmine, I heard it. I didn't see the video, but I heard it, and it sounded very stupid. That's what, I should have mentioned that Jasmine Crockett, when she did her press conference announcing her run for the Senate, she had a guy do a rap to introduce her. Now she's going to get a bunch of white people and Spanish people to vote for her in the state of Texas. Like, what are you doing? And she probably paid that guy. So that's what I'm saying. She could have used that money on the Louis Vuitton bag. That's what I would have did. Like, if Jasmine Crockett was my wife or girlfriend, I'd say, sweetie, don't hire that rapper. All right, do not hire this terrible consultant for your ad. Just go get yourself a Louis Vuitton bag and a pair of red bottom heels, and let's just do that. Now let's just go to dinner. Let's just go to dinner. You get yourself some Louis Vuitton. You get yourself some red bottom heels, some Christian Louis Vuittons. Get yourself a Louis Vuitton bag, and you'll be happier doing that than you would doing this. That's what I would have said. So anyway, all that said, everybody, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. We're usually done by 10. I'm trying to end it a little bit earlier than that, so we got some more time. A tired soul says better is like betting on the Cowboys to the Super Bowl. Exactly. Doc said better use of the money. Yeah, it would have been better use of the money. Yeah, give her some red bottoms and a Louis Vuitton bag. Again, she hired a rapper and got that ad made. How many of you, again, what is that going to be worth in 3 weeks? 0. So she could have used that money on something way better. Or what she should have did, actually, she should have called up her friend Nancy. She should have called Nancy Pelosi and say, yo, what stock should I invest in? That's what she should have did with that money. That $10,000, $15,000 she spent on those two things. She should have said, Nancy, I got 15 grand that I can burn. I'm about to hire a rapper and hire somebody to do this terrible ad for me, Nancy. What should I do instead? Nancy Pelosi would have told her, buy this stock, that stock, and put the rest in the S&P 500, and you'll be good, Jasmine. Jasmine would have said, thank you, Nancy. And that would have been the end of the conversation. That's what she should have did. That's not what she did. But anyway, what do I know? We'll see. Everybody, I will see you all Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Topic to be determined. We'll see what's going on. We might talk about Candace Owens again. Candace Owens is another gift that keeps on giving. So shout out to Candace Owens. She has joined Donald Trump as being the gift that keeps on giving, meaning anytime I talk about that person, everybody has a response and something to say. Jasmine Crockett is not the gift that keeps on giving. She gave today, but she can't give every single day. So you're a star when you do it every day. Jasmine Crockett, she's a topic today, but she can't be a topic every day because she has not enough substance to make for a conversation. But she was useful today. So Jasmine Crockett, thank you. Next time you got $10,000 to throw away, give it to me. I will coach you. I will actually make you better. Or I will tell you which stocks to buy. Or I will tell you which Louis Vuitton bag to buy. But do not hire another rapper. Jasmine Crockett, if you're listening, do not hire any more rappers. Everybody have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday morning. You want to work with me directly, have me as your direct coach. Go to the link in my profile or text the word power to my phone number. My number is 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Again, 305-384-6894. Text the word power. If you want to get into my coaching program, I coach on communication, mastering communication on all levels. You don't have to do a live stream to master communication. Input and output, observation, nonverbal and verbal communication. Text the word power to my number, 305-384-6894. Get into this program right here. I'm not going to offer you a book. I'm going to get you in the program. I'll send you the book for free. I'm not selling you the book. And if you want this book right here, the third day, text the number 3. Everybody have a great weekend. The number's in my profile. Work on your game. We are out of here.